Hello, Scrappy Peeps! Suzanna here today to share with you this layout for a cherry on top that I created using Cocoa Vanilla Studio Storyteller. So I was inspired by that particular piece of pattern paper. Actually, no, not that green one, but one of the green papers that had concentric hand-stitched circles. So that is actually based off of a Japanese sewing technique. It's called Sashiko, and it's actually used to mend things. And very frequently you will see the concentric circles, or there'll be squares or stuff like that. And so what I decided I wanted to do was do that on paper, obviously, instead of fabric. And normally you would use a running stitch. But it is much harder to do a running stitch on paper than it is fabric. So you can see I've started one of the circles there, and then I'm going to do a circular grid-based layout. I have done this on multiple occasions before, so in a way I'm scrapbooking myself. This is scrap lifting myself. This is nothing original. And I have 3 photos, and then I'm going to have 3 of the circles, the hand-stitched circles, and then 3 spots that are either going to be pattern paper, or you can see the one that I've got some mixed media. It's just literally some yellow watercolor on the background followed by a scalloped circle there. So you can see I've pretty much got the placement of everything laid out on the page. I'm going to have a yellow circle as well as a blue circle, and I will show you the beginning of the stitching of that yellow circle coming up. So I've got my color placement. I know what colors things are going to be predominantly, and then that way I can build upon all of the layers of color that are there. So for a little bit of variety, I have put the circle holes around the edges of that particular circle in the blue there, and then it's just a regular circle down for the green, and then that scalloped white on top of the yellow as my other circle there. So now I'm going to set about stitching the concentric circles using a yellow DMC floss. Because this is supposed to be asymmetrical, it's not supposed to be predictable. It's unique to every user. I have split my thread, and I'm showing you I'm using it. So DMC floss comes as 6 threads. So I'm using 2 doubled, and I'm going to tie the knot through all 4 threads so that I actually am sewing with 4 threads. Then when I need to switch threads, I'm going to just tie a knot at the very end and not double it, so that I'm always stitching with 4 threads. I am not going to poke holes in this ahead of time like I normally would when I'm hand stitching on paper, because the idea of this is that it is not predictable, that it is literally go as you flow and fly by the seat of your pants. So I have to adhere everything down because I'm going to keep flipping the page. And I learned from my top circle that it is very hard to erase where you have drawn the pencil. And so I am not going, so you can see I erased. So it's a very fine outlined circle. So literally this is a paper running stitch going up and down, up and down. You don't have to go back to close out the hole. And so those are the completed circles there. And something to keep in mind, this isn't like a snail shell where the circle runs into the next circle. I literally have a circle, and then I move in a 1/4 inch and have another circle, and then move in another 1/4 inch. So it's a continuous thread, but they are literally graded circles. So that is my technique there. You will notice that the grid is shifted to the top of the page. That was done intentionally. I wanted my title to be down the bottom. That was the original plan. However, that does shift as well, and it gives me the opportunity to use some pattern paper. And the idea with the pattern paper sort of shelf was to then house the title. Again, that shifts just a little bit. So with this super awesome collection, you get, if you can order as an add-on, the floral ephemera. So I have that. I only ordered the floral ephemera. I did not order the other ephemera pack because I knew with the collector's kit that I had the stickers. I also knew that I know me, and I know I'm going to use the florals more than I'm going to use the other things. But I also had the chipboard stickers, and I knew that that was going to give me enough variety of the shapes and things that I wanted. So now what I'm trying to do is create a visual triangle. So what I've done there is the pictures that I originally printed were not large enough that the picture filled the entire circle. So I reprinted the pictures because I thought I could cover the parts that were white that didn't have photo, but it ended up being that it was going to screw around with my visual triangle alignment, and I was going to end up having to put elements to cover them on the photo, not because that's where I necessarily wanted elements to be. So I reprinted the pictures, and that is affording me the ability to create a visual triangle with these floral ephemera pieces. So I also want a balance of color here too, because my son's shirt is navy blue, and that is one of the colors in the collection, but I want to create some balance so that I can pull a little bit more dark at the bottom of the page, which was perfect with that chipboard camera there. I also have that white scalloped circle, which I know is where I want to put my journaling. I've intentionally left that for journaling, but I also wanted to have a few of the circles that were just open color spaces, again, for a little bit of non-white white space. So I am going to layer up these flowers. I always do that. And so one will be on the page and another one will be raised off of the page using double-sided foam. And then you can, I don't know if you can see, but at the top of the edge there are a few white floral bits that I have cut out, and that is using just literally white cardstock and a thinlit die from Sizzix that is available in the store, and that is linked over in the A Cherry on Top store. I think it's called Bold Flowers. I did also use some additional flowers from some leaves from my stash, and that die is from who is that die from? Anyway, that is not available at the store, but Poppy Stamps. So I am using a couple of these pattern paper pieces to create some more circles and some more embellishments. You don't have to just be stuck with the embellishments that come with the collection. You can use what you have to create your own, somewhat similar to fussy cutting. So you can see I've taken that tab there and put a rounded edge on it so that it fits on the top of that green piece. And now I have a lovely little embellishment. And then the circle that's up the top right there that says "So Sweet," that was actually a square, I think. And I just used a circle punch to cut that to keep the round elements here. So also available as part of this collection are the foam title stickers, and I integrated two. So I have "Make Me Smile," and then I am going to put at the top "This," and borrow an S from somewhere that says "So then," the saying then becomes "This makes me smile." It's the S from "So," because I don't think I'll use "So Beautiful." I could, but I could also use "so" using different letters, and then that way this title makes sense. So I have the title spread across 3 clusters, which creates another visual triangle, but I like the balance of that dark foam against the photos. It's like a pinball game where you pinball, right? You ricochet down off bouncers and move down the pinball board. So here you're going to ricochet off of all of these fun elements through the title and bounce off of the circles as well, right? Down to the bottom there, through the photos, through the journaling with that title. So I don't like the way that that M on Make Me blends into his shirt. I think it's very hard to read. And so I am going to come up with a solution to that in a minute. See how it's super hard to read. I could have shifted it all down, but then I was not symmetrically filling that space the way that I wanted to, and the margins were being lost in between the circles there. So I'm going to fussy cut a butterfly from one of the pattern pieces of pattern paper. I had toyed with the idea of using a flower, but then it ruins my visual triangle as well, which is a triangle of 3 clusters of flowers there. So while I'm figuring out what it is that I'm going to do, I am going to work on something else. And so you can see I have that blue circle that I want to put a little something. I don't want to fill it entirely. I want to put a little something. And then, and so I've got a chipboard piece as well as a few other circles just to continue with that concentric circular soft feel that's there. So this is where I have my aha moment, and I'm like, oh yeah, a butterfly. I can fussy cut one of those. I knew that there was a chipboard piece, and if I had gotten the regular ephemera, there was probably a regular ephemera butterfly, but I like fussy cutting, and so why not just go ahead and fussy cut that. That'll add that little splash of color that'll make that M in Makes Me pop out. So that is going to work there. These letters, those particular letters for Makes Me, are super, super thin, so you had to be careful in pulling them up that you weren't going to rip them. I originally put the butterfly down so that the leg of the M, the left-hand leg, was sitting on the body of the butterfly, and that was kind of bizarre. So I had to shift that up, and that the left-hand wings of the butterfly are off the page again for a little bit of movement and dimension, like I like in my pages there. So you can see that I have the bulk of what I want on the pages. It's just a matter of sticking everything down and working out the fine details. So I am going to use a chipboard butterfly here. I actually have 3 chipboard pieces. That was done intentionally. So even though I have the visual triangle of the flowers, I still have more color and clusters in the page, and so you can see that I have the 3 chipboard pieces. I've got that yellow banner that says noteworthy, and then the yellow butterfly, and then that camera is a chipboard piece as well. But because I've staggered and layered the flowers, and because you've got that grid of circles, you don't really, it's not distracting to the other elements that are already on the page there. I am going to journal off camera in that circle. I never do my journaling on camera. I always know that I'm going to make a mistake when I do it. And so here I'm trying to intersperse some of these white pieces. They are not necessary, and yes, there is the green leafage, foliage as well, but I didn't want any more green. I didn't want to add more color. I liked the way that the white was just texture really on the page to add to the texture of those hand stitch circles there. So I have covered up, unfortunately, a bulk of the blue circles down the bottom, but that's okay because you still see them and you can still get the same idea that they are what they're made up of because of the other 2, the red circle and the yellow circle as well. So again, I am creating with the Storyteller collection from Cocoa Vanilla Studio. It is available at the Cherry on Top store, and I will link you to that in the box down below. I am scrap lifting myself for the most part, and I have done some hand stitching inspired by one of the papers, that pattern papers that I am not actually using. So I want to have just a little bit more decoration. So I'm going to cut apart these word phrase stickers. This particular phrase says, adore this photo. And then off camera, I am actually going to do the same thing with another phrase that says, this is us. And I just like the way that it pulls a little bit more white into the page and adds a different pattern and a little different hint of visual interest from all of the soft roundness that is already on the page there. So that is going to pretty much wrap it up. I do have these puffy hearts that I'm going to throw just for a little splash of color, and again added dimension and texture, but that will most definitely wrap it up. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. If you have any questions about hand stitching and that process that I did, please don't hesitate to leave those in the box down below. Thanks for stopping in today. Come back again soon. Enjoy the close-ups. Take care.